differences in your past?
I wonder. That's a good question. I am happily married, so we can use this as a reference point.
That's great. Yes. Good.
Verified.
Yeah. I mean, we're similar people. I don't know if exactly like where we grew up. We're around the same age. He's 3 years older than me. But he grew up in Texas and I grew up in Boston, so there's definitely cultural differences with that. But
I imagine.
But we both lived in similar places. Like he lived in Portland, Maine at a different time and I also lived in Portland, Maine, so we have those things to reference sometimes. We know places similarly, even though we weren't there at the same time. And then also we both went to the same college, even though we went at different times. So we like have these things that we have in common. We didn't experience them at the exact same time, but we have certain like traditional things. Like everybody at my college went to a Rome campus, right? So this is something we have in common. We both went to Rome. We both took the same Rome classes that they teach, those kinds of things. We know, we can like reference what it looks like on the campus because we were both there at different years, you know what I mean? But so we have a lot of similarities where we crossed paths, and that actually draws a bit of sort of like magical storytelling to our story as well, because it's like we were constantly missing each other. Every few years we were crossing paths just for a moment, and then we'd go off on our own adventures again, and then reconnected via Facebook. Oh boy. Thank God it wasn't like
great.
Tinder though. That would have been real upsetting.
Have you ever had someone ask you to take one of those personality tests to see if they can...
The Myers-Briggs?
Yeah.
I've never...
ENT.
Yeah.
I've never taken one for dating. I took one for my college roommate.
Gotcha. For their, like, psychology class or whatever they had to take.
They give you that, and then that's how they decide who your roommate is.
Oh, they didn't. Maybe they.
Really?
Yeah, and it was spot on. Me and my roommate are still friends. She's great. We lived together all 4 years. Loved each other the whole time.
All right. So Brian sounds like you know yours. What's yours? I'm just curious.
I don't. I have a couple of friends who are really big, like, into it, and they keep asking me. And I've, like, looked online for... It's hard to find, like, a free one.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I've looked online for them. So I haven't been able to do it, though. I feel like I could guess, but no, I don't. And part of the reason I'm interested is things like introvert, extrovert. I feel really strongly both at times, which I guess is not totally uncommon. So I've been interested to take it, but I have not done it because I didn't have to for any of these reasons you've enumerated.
There's a lot of pressure to being an official extrovert, though, I'll tell you, because then whenever you feel introverted, you feel bad, like you're doing something wrong, like you're not you. No shit.
No,
so
yeah,
I took the thing, and my thing's extrovert something, whatever, and... it's whatever one that's like the most extroverted, obnoxious, crazy person. Like that's me.
I want a college to do an experiment now where anybody who is an introvert on the tests, they tell them they're an extrovert so that they feel that way and they have to go out in the world and experience more.
Not everybody's like crazy neurotic like I am.
I know, but I would just love to see how that worked out. Like, we got 30% more people to go out in the world and be extroverted.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
The perception. I mean, I definitely think that. Well, like for me, it's a lot of like where I, like what is my source of energy, and that's the part that is really so different. Like and a lot of it is so like I'm interested for me what knowing one or the other will do even, but like there are definitely times where I'm like, okay, I've had shows all weekend, I've been around a lot of people, like I need a day to like, get some stuff done and like sit and be in a space where I'm like. Can chill and like think, and I also need a lot of like I'm very brainy, like I need some intellectual time to like sort through stuff, and then if I have too much of that, or like if I'm ever in like an argument or in an emotional place, like the place I often want to go is to be around friends or like to be around people where I can like talk through stuff or like just be felt uplifted by that, and I think those are my two poles that. It depends so much on context if I'm going to get life from being around people or being by myself. And it took me a long time to figure that out, and it was often hard to explain. Like people would be like, oh, Brian needs this or Brian needs that, and like my family and my friends and stuff. And so it's been, now that I kind of understand, well, it depends what I've been through recently to know what I need. And I think that comes up in improv too. I have learned that like that I have groups and I have partners that are so different in stuff like warm-ups where like almost always what I want before a show is like to center and calm myself and like find a place, like I want to play from a place of like inner calm at least. And when I'm around like a packed green room full of people like jumping their energy up, which I get people need to do that, like, but that stresses me out and I get really overwhelmed. But that's like often the default, and I know there's like a few other people who are like gonna find, like I'm gonna find in the back alley also like chilling and stretching or whatever. But yeah, it's helped me to figure out like what I need in different spaces.
Do you still get nervous energy, like heart rate pumping up before shows, or are you like that nervous energy, that anxiety? Because that's what I get. I like take my pulse before every show, and it's 120. No doubt.
Really?
Yeah.
I've not taken my pulse. I definitely it fluctuates for me. I definitely will get things I've noticed if I'm in a new space. So I'm at a festival or like we just did a show in Cleveland for the first time, and you know I've been doing comedy since college for over 10 years, and for some reason someone other than me booked us a show in Cleveland, and my whole family came out to see the show, and I was like incredibly nervous just because I was like, they're all seeing this thing that I spend a lot of time on. So stuff like that will like give me a lot of anxiety, or not anxiety, but just like that nervous butterfly energy. I find that I'll get it all before the show, but as soon as I go out, and I've attributed this to just being on stage since I was young, like it washes away. Like I don't remember any of that feeling, and I'm just like able to get in it most of the time. We did a festival in Phoenix. It's an amazing festival, but they're in this enormous theater that even just being back in a theater with like wings and like side curtains and stuff, and I'm just like, holy moly, I have to go do improv on this stage. Like I'm not qualified for this. Like that gave me those nerves again. It was an amazing festival. Our show was fine, but like, so those things give me up. I think, you know, like my monthly show and stuff, those things I do a lot, like I'm much more able to be in a place of like, I got this, like, it's not that I still get nervous, I think, but it's not as much where like my heart is beating in my throat, as much as like, yeah, these are my friends. Like I love doing this with them. Like this is a great chance to do a thing I love. And so that like gets me. And usually I'm better at being able to like, I know where I can go and where I can sit and how I can like get what I need before. So I get a little bit less of that for the regular stuff.
When you talk to your students and they ask you that question, what kind of advice do you give them about it? Like how do they deal with nervousness? Yeah, and like how to get over it to get on stage. Yeah,
I don't think I've found good advice yet, because most of what I'll say is like, you're going to do a ton of these shows over the course of your, you know, time doing improv, and so like nerves is just a thing that you like. I will say it's good that you're nervous because that means you care about this, and you'll do a lot, and so over time, you know, you'll feel less nervous. But I don't even know if that's true. But yeah, like generally, I do talk about warming up the way you want to play, which is a thing. I'm not sure if I got that at New Movement, but I definitely love the idea of like warming up the way you want to play. So that's, I guess, more with teams I coach, certainly. But so in the classes, I'll probably have them set up already with warm-ups that are like about what we're talking about in that class or thinking about in the class show, and getting people to go out, hopefully from that place of calm. Like one thing I'll do very often in my classes is like right before the show, we'll all go around and share just a one word that's like a feeling that we want to feel during the show, so people can kind of have that point of focus. It's less about, you know, I want to do character work, but it's just like I want to feel, you know, proud, or I want to feel calm, or, you know, people have all different things, but a kind of focal feeling and energy. I'm dancing around because I don't have a good question, but those are some of the things I do. But I don't really think I have an answer for that yet.
that word that they're describing, they want to feel, is that them as a performer, or for the character, or a character that they do? So is it I want to feel, you know, pride as a performer out there, or is it I want to feel pride as a character? I'm just curious if that's to, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I guess I don't make it super clear, but I think of it from a performer perspective.
Okay.
Like what's it's kind of almost like a mantra. Like what's a thing a target you want to set for yourself.
Right.
And I'm also big on like affirmations and mantras. Like, it's not going to in that one moment change a lot, but I think like getting yourself in a mental space of, feeling pride or feeling calm or whatever, like putting that out into the world kind of helps guide people to be a bit more in that headspace than in the headspace they would normally be in, which is like nervousness, terror, whatever else is floating around in their head. So just flipping those to like positive words, aspirational words, I think is a positive mental.
I think I'm going to try that out next time, because we do the thing you mentioned where it's like in the show I want to, and then you name something that you're working on, but it's not necessarily attached to a feeling or anything like that. It's just which is in a way saying I'm bad at this thing, so right before you go on stage, that's kind of a version of that.
And I don't think that's bad. Like I think to me the goal of that is like having one singular focus, so you're cutting out the work to like I have to be good at everything. I think that's also positive. Yeah, mine is definitely more from a hippie perspective of getting yourself in an emotional mindset that is positive and not facing fear or negativity.
Yeah, I also just forget that thing that I said I'm going to work on as soon as I get on stage. So I'm curious.
I tend to also.
Yeah, so I'm curious if I can latch on maybe to an emotion a little bit better, to work that out.
I think it'd be easier if I was like, I want to feel sad. And then I just go out there and my character's choices are always sad. Like, just no matter what happens in the scene, it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess I got $1 million. Seems like a lot of work.
I also want to see that from the perspective of you as a performer just feeling sad about the performance. Like, you force yourself into a terrible spot here, Amy.
I want to feel really sad about
Amy,
myself.
You're just doing stand-up at that point.
You're right.
I want to stay anxious all night.
I'm doing two level jokes. It's like one joke for the audience, the other joke for my fellow performers.
I'm usually doing.
I'm just that much of a dick that I'm like, guys, my whole performance is a meta performance for you guys.
You love it.
Although I will say that touches on. I know it got light again for a minute. And I'm going to bring it back down, but it touches on to me. Part of the value of it is just sharing that with the group so that other people can kind of say like, oh, this is the place this person wants to be at. So if there's anything you can do to,
help them out.
Help that out.
Yeah.
I always think that's a bit helpful. Which is the other reason to share the other one. While we're on, I forget who asked me that, but does anyone else have a good question for when students especially ask about nervousness?
Or
a good answer?
A thing to say to that? Yeah. I haven't been teaching, so I've got nothing there.
I mean, I usually just tell people to have fun with their friends. Like, my entire philosophy of teaching level 1 is to spend 8 weeks making these people friends with each other. Because you're generally going to have a good time with your friends no matter whether things are going the way you expect them or not, because they're your friends. And you trust them to kind of have your back, so even if everything kind of like, you're building up this joke and you're like, yeah, I'm going to be really funny, and then it just falls flat, they can have your back and make you look better. And that's how I tell them to try to do it. And honestly, from a sort of like high ideals of improv, that for me is like the number one thing. It's like if I'm watching a show and it looks like the troupe is friends and having a good time with each other, I don't care what happens in any of the scenes. I don't care if I got 3 beats. I don't care if I laugh. I don't care if anything. If they look like they're having a great time, that's how it's like A+. Whereas
I like that a lot.
So it makes it a lot easier. It's less intense about like, if you're not hilarious, and by the way, there's SNL people in the audience, and they're going to decide whether Austin's a worthy city. They'll never come back again if you're not funny. Like, what? No,
Yeah, well, and that point also makes me think of, like, I guess what I'm also hearing in that is that it flips the idea of pressure. Like, you sort of put the pressure on yourself. And I do think one other thing about those, especially those early class shows, like, I mostly teach a duo elective, and then I also have taught our 102 class, which is sort of, it's like the second class. It's still considered a 100 level. And at those shows, everyone who's coming to see you still at that point, your friends, your family
right,
come
the
out,
supportive people.
and I think